You know about the junk wax era, but are we now in a junk parallel era? Many people seem to think so, especially with sets having 50 to 60 or 70 or more variations just on the base sets alone. You know about all the colors, but do you know the difference between all of the different prismatic effects? I put over 12 hours into preparation for this video to break it all down for you. Let's get right into it. Let's data dive. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Market Movers video inside of the Arena Club studio in Cards HQ. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and today I am attempting to do what no man has done before. At least not that I'm aware of. I'm sure some of you in the comments may tell me, it's been done already, nothing new. I put a boatload of my time into preparing a presentation. I'm gonna walk you through, I won't say every single different one, but the vast majority of the most common, what I call prismatic effects on different cards across the hobby. Most notably in Topps and Panini. In some cases, I'll point out their upper deck equivalents or even some of the throwbacks to the 90s where they originated. You know about all the different colors. It's easy to tell a gold from an orange, from a green, from a red, and all these parallels, all these variations make up what people chase. They're serial numbered across the different sets. They create this rarity, at least that's what they want us to believe. But now, more and more, the manufacturers have started doing like an orange, and then an orange shimmer, and an orange Raywave, and an orange sparkle, and an orange wave, and an orange, and an orange, and an orange. And then in some cases, they call the effect on the card something different from one set to the next, or especially from one manufacturer to the next, and it's super confusing. And the most confusing part about it, perhaps, is the manufacturers won't print on the card what the dang parallel is. Why? I don't know. I've asked them to do it. I've called it out. We've talked about it on Cards on the Table, and I know many other people have as well. It is super, super confusing. It leads to cards being mislisted on eBay. People pull something out of a pack. They have no idea what they've hit. They can't decipher if it's one of those different variations. So I've got images here. I think we're even gonna put some spinning pictures of the real cards into this video. This is a high production effort to hopefully bridge the gap and help many people, like such as yourselves, understand what these different things are, where they came from, and how did we get here in the first place. So if you want to track all the data associated with this, of course, you can check out Market Movers. Market Movers tracks millions and millions of cards, and we ingest hundreds of thousands of sales every day from all of the leading online marketplaces. Visit marketmoversapp.com. And if you use promo code DIVE at checkout, you get 2 weeks free to try it and then 20% off for life. Let's get into some history. All right, so I just want to briefly sort of point out where this all began and what I call the golden age. Many people call the golden age of cardboard, vintage. Nothing rocket science here, not going to spend a ton of time on it, but you look at these images, you say they're classy, they're dramatic, they're vibrant. Maybe the word that applies more than anything is timeless. These are the cards that go for big bucks. Obviously, these three cards, very desirable, and a lot of vintage is very desirable. And there was this simplicity to it and very specific look and feel by era. Obviously, you had the tobacco cards with a much smaller shape. Then we started to get into our more 3x4, size that we have today. And this era was wonderful, but that era took us into the dark ages. As sports cards became much more popular, we moved into what we call the junk wax era. And I call these the junky junk wax designs. You might think I'm crazy for saying it, and maybe you're gonna yell at me down below, but I do not like that 1986 Topps design for Jerry Rice's rookie card. I don't like this Griffey, I don't like this Cal Ripken, I don't like a lot of these sets. Some of the junk wax cards were interesting, most of them, just not my style. Now, I say that not to bash on anything anybody else likes. If this is the era that you grew up in as a kid, I am certain that you love these designs, or at least most of them. That's nostalgia. That's nostalgia speaking, just like for me it is in the 90s, even with ones that older and younger people alike don't really resonate with. But the problem with this era was cards got really popular. And as such, they just printed and printed and printed and even reprinted more and more copies of the exact same cards. We know that Ken Griffey's 1989 Star Rookie Upper Deck Rookie card is the most graded sports card of all time. So there's a lot of copies and there wasn't a lot of variety to these. So what happened? Well, we entered into the 90s and specifically 1993 when a light shined in the darkness and saved the sports card hobby forever. we got the refractor. In Topps Finest 1993, we got refractors. First in baseball, then in basketball. You can see some examples here. Here's some, a listing that was on Heritage Auction at one point. Here's the Griffey, here's the Michael Jordan. These babies pop. They're still fan favorites. In high grades, they sell for premiums, even in many cases in low grades. And they weren't easy to get. If I'm not mistaken, I think you would get one refractor per box back then when you would open an entire box of these. So they were pretty limited. And in high grades, they're pretty tough to get, pretty short printed, low gem rates. So refractors bursted onto the scene. They gave all new life, this different shine that we had never seen before really on sports cards. And we were saved. The refractors arrived and we were saved by the rainbow. I'm recording this on St. Patrick's Day, so I guess this is an even more fitting little slide that I've got here. And the shine saved the sports cards. We kept going into the 90s. Topps Chrome emerged in 1996. We got the refractor for Kobe Bryant that is so coveted today. We obviously have the 2000 Bowman Chrome refractor for Tom Brady. We got gold refractors, actually first, I believe, in 2002. This is LeBron's 2003, one of the most iconic basketball cards of all time. So refractors came and the hobby was better for it. There was a lot of other stuff that came too. And really, if I look at how the different major manufacturers approached sports cards back in the 90s, Upper Deck leaned heavily into this holographic technology and holofoil, as well as into game-used memorabilia and relic pieces and autos in packs. Fleer and Skybox, they definitely had parallels, but it wasn't necessarily refractors. You had the PMGs, you had Essential Credentials, very popular still to this day. You had this lenticular technology, kind of a 3D lenticular technology on jambalayas, Noise Boys, lots of creative inserts, and certainly some parallels, but it was really Topps who pioneered and pushed hard into the refractor space more than anything else that they did. So today, we find ourselves in this case where you can get this whole rainbow. Credit to Tan Man, baseballfan.com for this image of Pujols kind of chasing this whole rainbow. And you look at this and you see, well, there's a lot of color variety. That's why we call it a rainbow. But it's not just the colors. There's also something else going on here that I want to unpack in today's video. You see there's a little bit of a sparkle on this card. There's a little bit of a sparkle here. There's a different camo pattern here. And then obviously you have the grail of all grails, the Superfractor in the middle here. So that's what I want to take you through today. We're gonna start with some notable naming differences on that OG refractor. That's what we're gonna do to start out. So you got Topps in this row and Panini in this row. And I will say the bulk of this video is gonna be focused on the ultra modern sports card market because that's kind of where the wheels have gone off. So there's different names for these things depending on firstly the manufacturer and then even the subsets within the product. So in Topps, for example, we mentioned this, it was born as refractor. But if you get Topps paper cards, it's actually rainbow foil. And then if you get a Topps Stadium Club card, it's a rainbow foil board. Oh, but wait, if you got Topps basketball and not Topps baseball, then it's not a rainbow foil. It's a rainbow foil board as well, for whatever reason. In Panini, they started out in 2012, Prism, they called them Prism Prisms. Gotta love that. They eventually and thankfully shifted, and even now, most people refer to these as silvers. So if you switch to later years, I believe it was 2014 that they started calling them silvers. So you have your Prism Silver. This is Jalen Brunson's 2018 Prism rookie card. They also call them silvers in select, even though on the back of the card it says Prism. It's kind of the term that they use for any of their version of refractors in Panini products. Well, then again, except for optic Holos, which I believe also say Prism on the back of the card, but they call them Holos on the checklist. Are you confused yet? Because even just sitting on this slide, it's a little bit confusing for me, and I've been back in this for almost 8 years. So enter prismatic effects. That's sort of your baseline. And I'll let you pause the video here because there's a lot I could say to put all the right disclaimers out there, and I might make a mistake in here somewhere, or I'm definitely gonna leave something out. It's impossible to actually get this video to include every single variation that's ever been done. So feel free to pause on the waivers here and make sure that you don't yell at me too much down below if I happen to get something slightly wrong, because even for me, somebody who spends every day working on a data product and setting up master data and doing all of these things, it still dizzies me and confuses the heck out of me. So good luck to you understanding what comes next. All right, back to that term, foil board. This isn't a rainbow foil board, it's just a foil board. Different prismatic effect. You can see this sort of like, you know, I don't know, shimmery design on here. And then we got a hollow foil, which is an even different effect. Here's back, just for example, rainbow foil board. So apparently if it's a foil board, it's like this, and if it's a rainbow foil board, it doesn't have any kind of an effect on it, and it looks more like a refractor. Then we got crackle board foil. Then we've got crackle foil, which Beckett on their checklist breakdown calls the silver crackle board foil board super box exclusive. Then we've got the silver foil board. So try saying these things 5 times fast. I know I couldn't do it. Then we've, again, got the crackle board foil and the diamante. And you look at these two things and it's basically a diamante with more diamante. It just should be called like the super diamante because it's basically just tighter little crackle boards all over the design. These cards look almost identical. And again, it's not printed anywhere on the card what the heck the card is. It doesn't say on the back of the card, this is a diamante or this is a crackle board foil. Please, Topps, if you're listening, start printing it on the dang cards. This technically isn't a prismatic effect, not the distinction between these two, but I had to put it in here because this is arguably the most laughable thing that anybody's done, one of the most cruel things. They have a yellow rainbow foil, and then they have a gold foil. These were jumbo exclusive, jumbo box format exclusive, and these, I believe, were hanger box exclusive. They look nearly identical, and if you don't take them in the right light, the hue and the saturation and the tone literally looks identical. I don't even know how you tell the difference if you're looking at them online. Thankfully, from a price perspective, they tend to be comparable, but like, whose decision is this? Oh, let's put gold foils and jumbos and yellow foils that look nearly identical, just slightly more yellow and brighter. If you even have slight color blindness, you can't tell the difference between these two cards. So then we start getting into some other differences here, and some of these are patterns, some of them are prismatic effects. Sort of a hodgepodge of stuff here that doesn't really fit. It's not like mainstream. Let's say it's not the stuff that people know and celebrate, and it's not part of the ranking list, which I'm eventually going to get to my own rankings. We're going to count down to my favorite prismatic effects. You got a Firefractor, which is in Bowman. You got a Frozen Fractor, which happens to be negative serial numbered. You can't see that here, but these go from -1 to -5 out of 0. Sort of a gimmicky type thing there. You got the negative refractor, sepias. Then you got the logo fractor, which is kind of a pattern of refractor on the back here. Topps fractor, which is just the Topps logo repeated all over the card. Octafractor, which sort of pays homage again like a logo fractor to the octagon design on the background. I don't particularly like the design of that. Then you've got Lunar Glow. Reptilian in its different formats. Here's 2024 basketball Reptilian, baseball Reptilian, and then this is kind of a different with like a shimmer on it, plus the Reptilian design from 2025 Bowman. These are new to the scene from basketball, from Topps and Topps Chrome basketball. You've got the Cartload. I don't know. I mean, of all the names to choose for a parallel, I don't really know what the heck Cartload even refers to, but that's what it's called. You got the Flash Drop and the Skylight. 3 different parallels here. Again, these are all like brand new, I believe, this year to basketball. And then you got the Basketball Refractor, which has the basketball texture design in the background. I had to give a shout out to one of my favorite, memories from my childhood, 1996 Upper Deck, which had these rookie exclusives in it. I know there was another set in the 90s. I don't think it predates this one. Oh, Ovation, Upper Deck Ovation. I believe that came out like 1998, a few years after this, where that was sort of like the base design throughout the set. These are way cooler than these ones are. This is more of a refractor with this basketball border on it. I can't tell if I like it or not, but these ones are really cool. The whole thing, the whole background is textured and it feels like a basketball. Then you've got the Star Ball, so kind of like the Octafractor in soccer. You've got something called a diffractor, which as far as I can tell is only in the product Topps Tech, which is an acetate cardstock, not a cardboard. And then I kind of just threw this on the end. It probably should have been closer to Lunar Glow. You got the Green Grass refractor. There are some others that I know I forgot. There's like a Pearl and some other stuff. Those are more colors. And then some more obscure ones. Pulse, looks like this, almost like these little, I don't know, ovals all over it. It's a foil, but this is apparently also pulse, which is more like a shock flash parallel, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then an effect I don't believe I've seen in any set since Stadium Club in the late 90s is the Matrix. And it has sort of, it's almost like burned metal refraction rainbow coming off of it. These cards really, really, really cool in hand. Not particularly expensive. A really unique shine to them if you want something unique from the 90s in your collection. They had these in, I believe, basketball, baseball, and football. Okay, you thought Topps was bad. Let's get into Panini and keep going. So one thing I wanted to point out, there are products that come from their Asia exclusive releases from Panini, and they call them Tmall, which is like an online marketplace, or Choice. And a lot of the different products had these formats. Products like Prism, Optic, Donruss, I believe Hoops at one point maybe had something like this. There are different ones. I know there's others as well, Obsidian. And so they'll have different effects. The problem is they'll call them like Tmall. It'll be like Tmall Gold. But the prismatic effect, that textured design on the card, varies from one year to the next in many cases, and from one product to the next. So if you see that, don't just assume like, oh, Tmall is this design, or it's this design, or Choice is this. I'll walk through some more examples as we go here and kind of hopefully point that out along the way, but don't get confused by that. It is very confusing. I wanted to start with a product that I think has kind of a niche market, and that is Panini Revolution. And Revolution is sort of like its own standalone in regards to these different prismatic effects. It's very busy, very bright, very flashy. It's not for everyone. Some people absolutely love it as a product though, and it goes back to 2015, I believe. We'll see in a minute. So even the base card has sort of this textured design that kind of reminds me of that, was it the foil board or one of the ones we saw in Topps? And then you've got this astro background with stars. Chinese New Year has this sort of like cracked ice effect on the back. Fractal sort of goes in all different directions. Groove. Groove looks like, if we go back, Groove kind of looks like the cartload a little bit. And then we've got Impact, which has like bigger, more explosive Astra-style stars in the background. Cosmic, which you kind of got to see in hand. Those are pretty cool looking. Sunburst sort of beams out like lasers, like a Trapper Keeper design from the 90s. Cubic, obviously aptly named with the different cubes in the background. And Lava, which happens to be the only, not the only, but the lowest serial numbered one, numbered to 10. These are to 50, these are to 75, these are to 100. And it's the most underwhelming. It really is the most underwhelming. It's like a basic foil on a lot of TCG cards today. It's cool, but like if you compare it to some of the others, it's kind of underwhelming, and it's the most rare serial numbered. Where Revolution really shines, I guess pun intended, is on their case hits called Galactics. And yes, 2015 is where it all started. And this Galactic in the background kind of has like this star design that pops out. Sometimes it's straight up and down like you see here in 2017. Sometimes you get this effect as well, and it kind of pops all over. These things, they really, really, really dance. They dance when you spin them around in the light and you shine them. So here's an example of a Revolution Galactic, and when you see them move, you can kind of see the effect. Shout out to AK9 Collections here on Instagram for putting this video up there. And then here's another LeBron from 2016. So again, pictures never really do these things justice because they're dynamic and they shift gears a lot. So really cool cards on the Galactics. So I just wanted to show you what the different designs look like. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 for Luka, 2019 for Zion, Ant-Man in 2020, 2021 Cade, Jalen, Thompson. You know I had to get a Pistons trio on here. And then in 2024, they actually threw these into Donruss football before they made what I believe was the first standalone football Revolution product in 2025. And here's a Galactic of Brandon Ayuk. So these, I don't know, they kind of have a cult following. Early year Galactics, very, very short printed. I believe like 15 of them made per player. I've still to this day not been able to track down the 2015 Andre Drummond Revolution. So I have the 2019, 18, 17, 16. I missed out on a 15 way back when, And then I missed out on another one that was on a Fanatics Collect auction a few years ago, and I just didn't know that it was there, and it sold super cheap, and I missed it. So if you can help me find that 2015, it's the last one I need to complete my collection for the run for Drummond. One of the runs of cards that I don't think I'll be getting rid of, even though I'm kind of consolidating some of my Drummond PC. So if you want more information on Galactics, go to Instagram and check out Putnam Cards, who did a reel recently on Galactics and why he thinks they kind of fly under the radar. Here's Kaleidoscopic. This one in the background is definitely different, and it kind of does spin around like when you have, a little kaleidoscope and you're looking through that. So these were actually one of ones out of a product called Panini Status. Then you have Swirls, and maybe my favorite name of anything, Swirlorama. They look very similar. Now, the next set that I want to show you, it's technically patterns. These technically aren't prismatic effects, but I knew if I didn't throw them in here, somebody would yell at me. So you got the checkered, which is part of, obviously, a racing theme, the checkered flag. But then you in football have the black and red checker, and you have other checker designs in Prism. You have this honeycomb pattern in the background that does have a little bit of like a variable illumination across it within Mosaic. And then you've got choice dragon, dragon scale, elephant, giraffe, peacock, snakeskin, different kind of snakeskin, different kind of mosaic snakeskin, tiger stripe, which can have a wave or a choice or other patterns involved in it depending on the year and product, and zebra, which has sort of this flash and then the zebra pattern all over it. So this is We Bought a Zoo, and you can get your favorite animal print here. Let me know down in the comments which animal print you think Panini should get ridiculous with next. To be honest, some of these are pretty cool in hand. Not so sure about this giraffe one, but these peacocks look like throwbacks to certain Star Rubies in the 90s. Some of the tiger stripes are pretty cool, but I know a lot of people get very snarky and kind of cynical about throwing all these different animal patterns and then naming them those things on the cards. Maybe you like them, maybe you hate them. Let me know down below. All right. So I kind of showed you Panini Topps and what they're doing on their own, and then Panini, but now I want to make the comparisons or show you where they have sort of the same effects, but they call them different things in many cases. First, let me start out with what I just call the dumbest of the dumb. I don't think there should be food refractors. I just think it's ridiculous. You had this taco fractor gimmick a few years ago, and it was actually a contest, and the whole thing was whoever steals the first base in the World Series in that given year, if you have one of their taco fractors, which were serial numbered to 5, you can redeem it for free Taco Bell for life. And so Ketel Marte's most expensive card sale ever was his taco fractor for almost $10,000, and somebody bought it on eBay so that they could cash in to ensure that they need appendix and gallbladder removal at some point later in their life of eating too much Taco Bell. Then you have the snack packs that Topps introduced into Bowman, and look, I generally just don't like these at all, but I really don't like that they're part of a Bowman First line. To me, Bowman First stands in a league of its own for many collectors. This is supposed to be a prestigious release. It's the first card for every player. They shouldn't have food patterns in the background, and they certainly shouldn't have them as like a chase pack in a given set, numbered to 5, where you can get these cards. So you have the popcorn, you have the peanuts, you have bubble gum, which is probably the worst of all of them, and then the sunflower seeds. They don't have the chewing tobacco parallel yet. Maybe that'll come later, but you can get them as regular cards as well as on-card autographs. Some of these sell for big money. My opinion is, if you're buying for investment purposes, I personally wouldn't buy these. I think there's iconic parallels in these products that you can go after. Way better ways to spend your money. I just don't like them. My opinion, you're entitled. If you love them, go buy them. And let me know down below what you love about them. And then I just threw one on here from Panini. I think this is actually the worst parallel of all time. It's the Crisis toilet paper parallel. I brought this up in the past. This was released in unlicensed baseball, almost to troll us. It's like we're in the middle of this, all these, lockdowns, and people are afraid and people are losing their lives. And then there's this toilet paper shortage, and somebody's like, I got a great idea. Let's put a toilet paper parallel inside of this pack. That's a great way to celebrate collectors. I don't get it. I put my boy Casey Mize on here because the toilet paper really popped on this one, but don't like it. All right, couple like more off the wall ones here that don't really match up to anything. The glitter parallel. which we'll see in a few moments. They already had a sparkle parallel, so I don't know why they did glitter, but there's these red glitters out of optic, Donruss optic for Panini, and then you have sand glitter, which is kind of something different. It's more like saturated all over it, kind of like when you did craft hour in elementary school and you would put glue all over it and then shake glitter all over your card and give it to your mom and she'd be covered in it. So sand glitter and glitter. Then we got all the different camos, camo, 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 with sort of different looks and different effects. Don't really care for like this pink camo. These are obviously different colors. This one's probably the coolest. It just looks like real green camo, but it's never been something that I'm a fan of. I don't really go for the camo parallels. This is kind of, I guess this is technically the Memorial Day camo parallel. So there's, they're paying homage to our troops and to that holiday. So I guess it's fine, but it's not my favorite. You got the stars prismatic effect. Technically, this is called purple stars. And these are very rare. I'm trying to remember. They might be serial numbered to like 8 or 13 or 15. So they're very low. And they don't look good at all in hand. They just look like they already have a purple parallel, like a base retail purple in optic. These hardly stand out. I have the Andre Drummond. It doesn't look good. Then there's this stars parallel, which is a different one. And it just has stars all over the background. Topps did this one off like gold stars one year and just sort of stamped them around the border. Technically, again, not a prismatic effect, a parallel, a pattern, but I want to do it kind of included in there. And then you've got Flash, Shock, and Pulse, which was in Sonic. So I had Pulse earlier, and I show you it's kind of this vertical effect here. This is the Sonic effect from Topps Sonic that they did one year, and it wasn't popular at all. And then this is sort of the Pulse in the background. I don't really know. I mean, I guess if you look at it, maybe these are slightly different. They've always looked the same to me between Flash and Shock, so I don't know why they call them something different, but I don't particularly care for this one. It's never really moved the needle for me. Not one that I like, so now we're getting into the territory where I'm ranking these and what I think of each of them. Okay, now we get into what's called Prism. So Panini has Prism, P-R-I-Z-M. And basically every refractor is called a prism, and there's a set called Prism, and then the backs of all the cards say Prism, even when they're not a prism. And then Topps has their own Prism with an S, P-R-I-S-M, which is the equivalent of Hyper, which is kind of this fish scale pattern. And for whatever reason, they called it the fireburst instead of a Hyper inside of the product Phoenix. So you got a Hyper, a fireburst, and a Prism. These ones are okay. Sometimes they look cool. On certain cards, they look cool. I don't really care for them on 2018 Prism in particular. They look a little cooler maybe on Topps Chrome, like on this 2018, more as a full bleed here. But again, this one's not one of my favorite prismatic effects. Now we move into what's called Pandora, and Pandora is actually, as far as I can tell, Topps doesn't have an equivalent to this one. This is one where I might be wrong, but I scoured for a while looking through different sets to try to see is there an equivalent. Kind of this squares in the background effect. Topps does have something called Escher squares, which I have later. Panini has Escher squares, which I have in here as well, I believe. But I don't think Topps has an equivalent. So kind of cool, like a little bit of a dynamic expanding and collapsing brick wall pattern in the background. These downtowns are called Black Pandora, and they're serial numbered to 25. You can neither tell that it's black nor really Pandora, like it just doesn't stand out. So it's one of the sets where I think it actually like sort of falls flat. It just doesn't stand out in the set in particular. And then we've got wave parallels. I can't tell you why, and maybe I'm just making it up, but for some reason Topps wave parallels, Topps Chrome in particular, or Stadium Club Chrome and some of the Topps manufactured waves, they look better than Panini waves. I don't know why, but I've had ones where I was like, oh, I really like that. I really like that. I have some wave parallels from Topps Chrome Star Wars Galaxy that I really, really like. I have a couple wave parallels out of Stadium Club Chrome in baseball that I really like. I've never been a big fan of the wave parallels out of Panini products, especially, out of Prism, but they're both called the same thing and it is generally the same pattern. Okay, kabooms, very, very popular. And I was racking my brain trying to remember what is this called. I knew it didn't debut with Panini. I think most people think it did. They think that kabooms just came with Panini. But no, there was this manufacturer, Pinnacle, that made Pinnacle Epics and these Moment inserts. You can see it says moment in the background. That is the first knowledge that I have of this sort of explosive, layered effect in the background coming out of here. And these aren't super expensive. Kabooms are super expensive, as I'm sure all of you know. And then randomly in Donruss Elite, they threw this very similar kaboom pattern in the background and decided that it wouldn't be rare at all. It would be serial numbered to 999 and called it the Outburst. So that's what they decided to do. You had Impact that I pointed out earlier in Revolution, which is actually similar or nearly identical to the new kaboom pattern. So if I go back, this one sort of like almost like a conch, like a shell that's like opened up in the background. And this one's more just like all over the place with like explosive fireworks stars. So you have Impact, Kaboom, and now Topps has come out with this Doorbuster 1 of 1. So Doorbuster, that's the best. I don't know why that's the name chosen for a parallel, but it's a doorbuster. I guess you'd bust down your door with joy and excitement if you hit one of these in a 1 of 1. Now we get into what is commonly called as a pattern, disco. However, when it comes out of these different box formats for these different products, they call it something different. So in Prism, I guess in football, they called it disco. One year randomly, they called it silver circles in Optic. In Optic basketball, it comes in a box format called Optic Fast Break. And so you'll see this is called like Fast Break Blue or Blue Fast Break. In football, they call it No Huddle. In soccer, they call it Breakaway. And in unlicensed Panini baseball, they call it Donut because, crisis toilet paper, donut, can't have any seriously named parallels in an unserious, unlicensed product. I do like some of these. Some of them look pretty cool in hand. They're all right. I give this prismatic effect like a B-. Now we move into Mosaic. I give this one a solid B. So typically this is called the Mosaic pattern, except when it's a 1 of 1 in football, then it's called the Black Finite. I don't know why it's called a finite and not a mosaic, but as far as I can tell, it's basically the same exact thing. Maybe they slightly changed the angle of these little like square type things. Again, back to Phoenix needing to get creative and have its own name. They call it Pyramids instead of Mosaic. And then Topps came out with their version of this called Geometric, except when it's called Ray Foil. And the farthest back example that I could find of this was actually in 1996, Bowman's Best Cuts, which they called Atomic, which is completely different from every other atomic pattern in any subsequent set, which we're going to look at in a moment, which they changed a few times as well. So overall, pretty cool one in hand. They do look cool. These Bowman's Best Atomic Cuts are pretty cool from back then. Black Finites go for massive, massive money. We know the Jaden Daniels sold to the Commander's owner for $500,000. So popular, not my favorite, but I give this one a solid B from a prismatic design. Then we get into laser, and this laser is again back to that kind of explosive out sunbeam Trapper Keeper design in the background, also Trapper Keeper. This is what was called Sunburst in Revolution, but for whatever reason in Donruss gets called laser. But then if you jump over into Prism, they actually have laser with a Z, so laser with an S, laser with a Z, and that's this very busy sort of looking background, and it's called laser in Prism Soccer, but it's called Velocity in Optic Basketball. So you have black Velocity and pink Velocity in Optic Basketball. And then in the background of this card, which is Topps Chrome, they call this laser. There's slightly less of it going on, so there's fewer of the lasers being shot and refracted in the background, but they do call it laser with a Z. So laser with an S, something totally different, which is Sunburst in Revolution. Laser with a Z, Velocity. There's your mapping of that one. Pretty cool in hand. I do really like the black Velocities in Optic. They're really cool, and this one is pretty cool too. Then we get into one that I would say is pretty polarizing. These are newer to the scene. A few years ago, we got introduced to Raywave, and you'll see Raywave with a lowercase w. You also see it with an uppercase W. I believe Topps has even changed that up depending on the checklist on a given year. What I can say about these is these just look really amazing in hand. Like, I think they're amazing. Like, visually, they do really cool things with your eyes. And that's what I look for in a prismatic effect, is something that kind of pops. It actually enhances the refractive effect of the card and makes it do something unique in the light. And these definitely do that. I give these ones, I would say like a B+. The first time I ever saw one, I thought it was really awesome. The gold Raywaves in particular to me look absolutely amazing. And then they introduced this one called Lava Lamp, more like the floating lava in the background of a lava lamp. I thought these two were similar enough to put them on the same slide. And the visual appeal of them, I give both of them a B+. I kind of wish they would have just, I guess, stuck to this. I don't know how many more prismatic effects they want to keep introducing into these sets to confuse people. If you're going to keep doing it, print it on the back of the card. All right, now we're getting into the ones that I actually really do enjoy. And we're going to start out with Finest Atomic, but specifically from 2011 to 2015 in Finest Football. This was called Atomic, and it's called Pulsar in Prism products, except in recent years where they called it Seismic for some reason, but it is that same, you know, something about it reminds me of like Traffic, when you see Traffic in like a cutscene or some B-roll in a movie, and it's kind of like the lights and what happens in the background with headlights and stoplights and in the city traffic, but really cool. And then in Topps Chrome, they called it Sonar, except now that they're also deferring to calling it Pulsar. So Pulsar is generally the commonly accepted prismatic effect when you look at this. I think if you were to ask anybody, they'd say, just call it Pulsar, even though it's called something different across these sets. I really like these ones. You have these neon green Pulsars that are not serial numbered, and then you had neon green Pulsars in Prism Basketball, which were really low serial numbered to like 25, and then you've got purple Pulsars and pink Pulsars and all kinds of different colors that get layered on top of these. But some of these, in my opinion, look really cool. These ones, all very similar and yet different, apparently. Prism introduced white sparkles back in 2015, and you have Prism white sparkles, you have optic white sparkles, you have white sparkles from other sports, you have red sparkles and gold sparkles. But it's a very tight, sort of subtle pattern that looks really nice in my opinion. Topps calls them speckles, except when they call them diamond, or except when they call them mini diamond. And as far as I can tell, those are the same thing. And then to add even more confusion, I guess this one bridges the gap. This is sort of like the chimerical love child of the mini diamond and the sand glitter that we saw earlier. A little bit of a tighter pattern, and they call that confetti. Doesn't look like confetti to me, but it's called confetti. So I like this one a lot. I give these patterns an A- in terms of prismatic effect. And now we're getting into the best of the best. Maybe I love this because of the heritage and it just goes back and there's a lot of nostalgia, but there is something about an Xfractor and the way these things not only dance on the little tiny squares and into like the half triangles, but also they'll have like this big square pattern that you can kind of see here on this one with Ronaldo and Messi, this very iconic 2014 Ronaldo Messi. And so they called them Xfractors. Starting in 2002, these were Xfractors. Panini has called them Power Plaid, as well as Checkerboard. And remember earlier we had Checker and we had Checkers, and then we have Checkerboard, which is something different. Beautiful cards, gold Xfractors in particular, some of my favorite cards, but I really do love this sort of red Power Mahomes rookie card. This is one that I would love to have in my collection, and love a good Xfractor. And I know I'm not alone on that. I know a lot of people do too. So let me know what you think of Xfractors down below in the comments. And by the way, in spite of these being called Power, the OG is the Xfractor. Most people just refer to these as Xfractor. And you still have these to this day. You still have Xfractors to this day that look, you know, all different colors, and they have them in the different sets. Mojo is why I put this in yellow. This is typically referred to as Mojo. You did have this 2017 Shohei Ohtani. This was the first released product by Topps in Bowman Chrome Mega Box format, and they just called it Mega Box Parallel. It is the Mojo effect. Then you've got gold Mojos and all kinds of different colors of Mojos in Topps Chrome products. And then they also call it Mojo here. And I guess this is where I put the Escher Squares Infinite, slightly different pattern, but I didn't know where else to stick this. This kind of fits into that. It's a different design. You can see it's a different overlapping square pattern with like a square behind a square sort of wrapped in almost like a woven basket. Mojo's very, very popular. These things are really cool in hand. Give solid A to the mojo pattern. All right, next up, we've got one of my favorites, and this one is not everybody's favorite. This one definitely tends to be polarizing, but I love a good shimmer. I think I like a shimmer, dare I say, more than the base refractor, and that is blasphemous in many people's eyes. For many people, the true refractor is the most desirable. I like a shimmer. I think they're really cool. It's just subtle enough to sort of mix it up. It adds another layer of complexity to the card. So you've got shimmers in Topps Chrome and Bowman's Chrome. This is just another example, and it has a slightly different shimmer effect to it. You can kind of see that more here, like a little bit, a little bit of a different effect. I don't know, maybe it's exactly the same. Maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but they call them all shimmers, and so does Panini. They also call them Shimmer in their different sets, most notably in Prism. This beautiful light blue shimmer color match for Luka, absolutely stunning. And then I threw Upper Deck into the mix here with what they called, I only saw this in 1 year, and they called it a blue rainbow. I don't know how something can be a rainbow, but just one color, but they call it blue rainbow, and Upper Deck did put that into their product. I'm gonna give the shimmer an A+. I'm gonna give the shimmer an A+. And now we're counting down really what is the last of the last ones here. This is the OG Atomic. The OG Atomic, this showed up first in 1996. So you had 1996 and 1997, Bowman's Best Atomics. And the pictures never do them justice, ever. And really, it's this effect that is the one that I really, really like. Probably because it's the original, but you can kind of see it does wind up with like bigger squares in the background. So as you move it, it just changes and morphs and dances in little pixelated ways, vertically and horizontally, and then it creates these big squares. So you had this Atomic starting in 1996, which is a different pattern than what we saw with this Finest Atomic, obviously, and a different pattern from the Xfractor. And then you've got, they shifted it though. They shifted it in Bowman Chrome, and they started calling this pattern the Xfractor in 2001 and 2002. So it went from Atomic to Xfractor, and then it kind of died, as far as I can tell, in this particular pattern, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know if I'd want to see it brought back. They kind of tried here. It's not the same. This is almost like a micro Xfractor now with this Victory parallel. It's much more like an Xfractor. Like a new Xfractor, I mean, like the checkerboard ones that we saw a few slides ago, than it is this old pixelated pattern. But these things are absolutely beautiful. And if you can find one of the ones that aren't greened out on the chromium, what we say, kind of hulked out, like a true color where, people have their authentic skin pigmentation, not green like the Incredible Hulk. These things are just so, so stunning in hand. Jeff just recently picked up a Kobe Bryant Bowman's Best PSA 10 Atomic from 1996, and it just incredible looking color, really, really great card. So they do have these victories. They have this cyber circuit. I'm gonna be honest, these look identical to me. Like when you see them, they look even down to like almost like a slightly diagonal square background. I don't really know what the difference is, except I guess maybe this is black and white. So it's like a black and white version, and these are serial numbered to 5. So you get the inferior aesthetic with the black and white image numbered to 5, and these are not serial numbered at all. I don't really understand the thought behind that. Then you've got similar but different Hyperplaid, Snakeskin. These are from Panini, the national packs, and then the Superplaid. So Hyperplaid, Superplaid, Turbo Plaid, Extra Plaid, Jumbo Plaid. I don't know what other variations might exist out there, or do or don't, but these OG ones, S tier, stunning, amazing, the OGs from the 90s. Now we're getting into a different Atomic. I'm sorry, but that's what they called it back then. Here's Bowman's Best Atomic from 1998 and 1999. So 1996 and 97, you had this sort of pixel background. Now you get this one, and these are some of the best looking cards in existence in the world. S+ tier. The original Atomics from 1998 and 99 what most people today call cracked ice or sapphire. So I kind of walk you through this because they've changed it. They keep changing it. This is the one that I think is the most confusing of anything. Bowman's Best Atomics, Topps Chrome Atomics from 2011 to 2014, then they stopped making them. Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary Atomics in 21 and 22. Bowman Atomics from 2012 to 13, and then again from 18 to 23. Bowman's Best Atomics existed from 2015 to 2022. And then we got Topps Chrome Sapphire in 2016, all the way up to present. Bowman Chrome Sapphire started in 2019. It's the same effect, they just put it into Bowman Chrome as well. And then originally with Panini Prism in 2012 and 13, we had cracked ice only in football. And then we got what they changed it to crystals in 2014 and 15. And ever since then, 2016 to present, it's just been called ice. So this is like the light blue ice, purple ice, red ice. Some people still refer to this as cracked ice. So it's the OG Atomic. It tends to be kind of the Atomic still within Topps products. Typically, this is either called Atomic or cracked ice by a lot of people. These things are amazing. I love Sapphire. Most people who see these in hand really love this product. It just has this design. It has a very premium aesthetic to it. And this is S tier all the way, all the way. We're down to the second to last one. And this is typically by most people called Scope. I meant to put this in yellow. Typically it's referred to as Scope. The original appearance, to the best of my knowledge, was on these 1997 Metal Universe Championship PMGs. And they put it in the background. These are the ones serial numbered 250. So you have 3 original precious metal gems. You had the red and greens, then you had these championship PMGs, and then you had the gold PMGs, which were also serial numbered to 50. 3 different designs. I really like that about those original precious metal gems, all of them beautiful. This scope pattern just, it does it for me. It's absolutely spectacular. You've got Radiance, which was in Upper Deck SPX. Radiance background, again, it's the same thing. Panini puts it into their products. You have these basic scope parallels. They're not numbered. They're not particularly super rare in Select. And then Topps Chrome put that into their Marvel product, as well as recently in Topps Chrome Cosmic, you have these, I believe these are somewhat short printed nucleus parallels. I just recently bought a Luke Keeschel for like 10 bucks on eBay just to kind of have a little speculation of him because I think he could have a good season. Now, what we know scopes for the most is these choice nebula parallels. And this is where I tell you it's out of Prism choice. And so they call it the choice nebula, but the pattern's technically scope. So maybe it should be called nebula scope. I don't really know. But these cards sell for big bucks, absolutely big bucks. They're among the most beautiful cards in the world. Because of the color distribution, I really love the color theme here with the blue and the purple and the kind of deeper hues. It's really, really cool. This Andre Drummond is mine. It's one of the ones that I'm not going to be getting rid of. And nebulas go for big bucks. Big bucks. The most expensive nebula sale that we've seen to date was Wemby's Nebula. One of one, sold for $860,000 back in February of 2025. We had the Jaden Daniels Nebula. That one sold for $192,000, which seems like a steal compared to his black one of one, black finite one of one that was sold privately. Interesting one here. You got Steph Curry with the sticker auto. That is a recent sale in December. Things high-end market's just been heating up like crazy out of 2024 Prism. And in Market Movers, you can just sort by price and scroll down. I think this is one of the most important nebulas ever made. 2022 Prism Qatar World Cup, and this is the Nebula 1 of 1 for Messi. I think this and his Black Prism from that set are among 2 of his most important cards. He won the World Cup that year. I think that adds to it. And again, you could just scroll down in here and see. One other thing you can do, if you didn't know this, if you have an Instagram account, is you can go into the search and just type Prism Nebula, and it'll try to show you accounts and other things. But if you just hit the little search thing, you could just scroll and go through all of the eye candy. And, you know, in some cases, people will even give you a video to see. Let's see if we can find a video of a nebula. Here's one. Not the best. I don't like the nebula autos personally, but some people really like them. I don't particularly like sticker autos. For my PC, I'd rather just have the beautiful card. Here's the Luca. This was hit by Leighton card breaks way back in the day, and the sale for that would go for probably much more money than it did when it originally sold. So yeah, I'm not seeing any video. Oh, here's one. Here's the Steph. I'm not going to watch them open up a vault and pull that out. So yeah, go search on Instagram. Just get the eye candy, and you could type in a player's name if you want to get even more granular with it and see if they exist. Nebulas. We've got 2 goats and a French guy on this card. Absolutely spectacular. And then the last, you got to go with the Superfractor at number 1. They're beautiful. They showed up. They bursted onto the scene in 2005 by Topps. They're spectacular. I'm sure most of you have heard about the Bowman Chrome first Superfractor auto for Aaron Judge selling for a absolutely astonishing $5.2 million. Unbelievable. I threw these foil fractors on here just to kind of put them out there. They're technically not a Superfractor. They're not really the same. They're not as desirable. They're out of Topps, so they're not Topps Chrome, but they are one-of-ones, and they are a big chase card. And then Panini actually calls these gold vinyls or gold powers in some cases in soccer. And for whatever reason, they put them into football, and they're serial numbered to 5, but in every other product, they're serial numbered to 1, so you get them out of like Optic gold vinyls. They're number 1. All right, some of the notable other Superfractor sales, the Lewis Hamilton, this is his Topps Chrome kind of rookie card, his iconic number 1 from the original Topps Chrome F1 set that came out. This is his Superfractor. That sold back in 2022 for $900,000. And then we had this sale back in 2020. This is LeBron's 2004 Topps Chrome Superfractor, 1-of-1. So I guess I said 2005. 2005 was when Superfractors emerged in baseball. This is actually 2004. I stand corrected, is when they emerged for basketball. And you've got this Topps Finest Superfractor, really cool design with this sort of decal edge, kind of crimped, stamped edge there. This Ohtani was a huge sale back in November of last year out of Transcendent on the auto. And you could just, again, you can scroll through here. Market Movers also tracks a lot of these cards. You can come into price movements and put it into this gallery view, and it's just eye candy. It's just eye candy to scroll down and see some of these really, really cool designs. I will say, not all Superfractors are created equal, and I don't mean the prestige of the set. It is interesting because it's the Topps Chrome Superfractors that tend to be here, and then Bowman Chrome, you know, kind of in like the modern era, not the Bowman first, but like a Bowman Chrome rookie card or just a Bowman Chrome veteran card. And then Finest has kind of fallen off. The original Finest, very popular from the 2000s. Other sets don't command the same premium. And then some Superfractors, we'll see if I can find one here. They like this one. This doesn't even really look like a Superfractor. It's out of Gilded. It's a cool looking card, but it's not very, what we would say, supery. Same thing here. You don't get that sort of Superfractor effect like you kind of do in the background of this. My favorite Superfractors are the ones that have more like the full bleed, you know, no border, or at least it bleeds into the border so that it's just very Superfractory. Now here's an interesting one out of 2023 Gilded that actually does show off that Superfractor effect. Some of these are really, really cool. And again, if we want to go over to Instagram, people love to show off the best of the best. Talk about extra Superfractor. Summertime Poppy 1-of-1 here. He's always got insane 1-of-1s. I definitely have card envy on this particular Megatron. Absolutely spectacular card. You can scroll down. This is a great card. This Tom Brady Finest Superfractor. I'm kicking myself because there was a Phillip Rivers Superfractor that we had here a couple years ago when we opened at Cards HQ, and I went to buy it. And I think we had it stickered at like $450, and I wanted to buy it, and it had already been scooped up on our website. So when they tried to scan it at the checkout, it had sold. And that card has sold like 3 more times since then online, and most recently for like almost $2,900, I believe, on Fanatics Collect. So that stinks. This was not a public sale. Again, summertime 1-of-1. To my knowledge, this wasn't a public sale. I would love to know what this card sold for. Defensive all-time greats in the NFL to me are something that might be an opportunity long-term. I think people might gravitate toward their best cards, not to every card, but to their best cards. and this certainly ticks the box. The Patrick Willis, same card, 2007 Bowman Chrome Superfractor rookie card, is on eBay right now with an asking price of $20,000, which that's a lot of money. But if you compare that, Patrick Willis was an absolute stud. You compare that to what some other cards go for, and it's, you know, maybe it's not that much. I love this Troy Polamalu photo. This is our guy, Scotty B, who picked up this Pudge, and I have mega envy on this one. Just an awesome card, and I love 2008 Topps Chrome. This one's really cool. You got Von Miller, just like, you know, punching the guy in the face. This looks like it could be a combat MMA card, so that's really awesome. So many great cards. Here's another sick Calvin Johnson from Gunther's Cards. You know, you can just keep scrolling down. You could scroll for hours. Everybody loves to show off their Superfractors and their gold vinyls on Instagram, and there's a lot of their really cool ones that you might discover on here. So let me know in the comments, do you own any Superfractors? They've gotten really expensive. I'm thankful that I do have a handful of them and a few gold vinyls. I feel like I'm starting to get really priced out of most of them these days. I did just pick up a Tarek Skubal Superfractor that I'm excited about. That'll be coming in the mail, that I paid a little bit of a premium for, but I consolidated some stuff into. You just can't go wrong with the Superfractors. They're absolutely spectacular. They're the number one on my list. They are the SSS tier of all cards, the ultimate grail chase, and I don't think that's ever going to change. They're here to stay. So I hope this video helped you. I ran out of breath toward the end there, and this was a lot of work putting it all into this video. Our production teams put energy into this, and I hope that this is helpful. Sort of, I don't know, reduce the noise or reduce the confusion, or maybe it just confused you even more, and you're just ready to throw your hands up and give up and say, I'm not going to collect any of these prismatic effects. Give me the true color, and I don't need to worry about anything else. Let me know. What do you think? Should we stop the madness? Are we in the junk parallel era? Lots of opinions, and other than that, go check out Market Movers. Go to marketmoversapp.com. Use promo code DIVE. And until next time, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.